Bitcoin Workshop, the unstoppable ultimate form of currency. This is part three, brought to you by How to Crypto. So, today we are going to be talking about the top four opportunities that Bitcoin brings to the world. We're going to focus on the global economy, the energy, the ownership aspect of Bitcoin, and ultimately the hedge against fiat currencies. So let's start with number four. Number four, the global economy. Bitcoin now creates an entirely new economy thanks to its permissionless system, right? You don't need any government IDs, you don't need any permission, you don't need anything to access the Bitcoin network other than a internet connection. So now people can anywhere around the world can now participate in a fair system. You are now adding over 2 billion people into this new economy. That is pretty awesome. Also, imagine the business opportunities. You now have more people to offer payments to, whether you want them to work for you, whether you want them to sell something to them. You now have a lot more participation in a global economy. That is huge. Also, as I just stated, you now have way more ability to create cheap outsourcing for now, because some of the most expensive things about outsourcing their products is the financial transactions to make it happen. Well, now that becomes extremely cheap with Bitcoin and a new economy. Next, we're going to talk about energy. This one might take a while, so let's dive right in. Most people are going to think, or they're going to hear from mainstream media, all that, especially today, there's been a big campaign on how much energy Bitcoin uses, which is very minimal compared to what the dollar uses, what the cost of war is, etc., etc. But so let's dive right into why energy is such a massive opportunity for the world thanks to Bitcoin. We have much less wasted energy. And what does that mean? Well, if you understand how the energy grid works, or maybe you don't, it has to have a stable connection. It's very difficult to turn on and turn off energy that comes. You have to have a stable supply. That way, when somebody plugs in their power, the energy is there. It can't just you can't just start up a plant to make way for everybody that's plugging in their system. The energy already has to be there. So a lot of the energy gets wasted. Also, on flaring of gases and stuff, a lot of energy gets wasted. Well, instead of wasting that energy, there is something that we can just simply turn on and turn off. So when you have a lot of wasted energy that's not being utilized, you can have Bitcoin miners running and you can be incentivized for that, right? So now energy companies can now actually start making an additional revenue for all of the energy that's just simply being wasted today. So now you have much less wasted energy. Now, if you have a stable supply of an additional revenue, now there's an incentive to maybe start scaling that infrastructure. Well, now, let's just say, to give you an example, maybe you have a city that just uses a very small amount of energy, and we want to expand on that, but there's not enough clientele, there's not enough incentive to scale that energy and for these energy companies to take a massive loss on it for a certain amount of years. Well, now maybe, if we need a bunch of energy at a certain time, maybe we can scale it and mine Bitcoin the rest of the time, and now we can have revenue coming in from that and so forth. And this is where kind of rural communities come in. Most clean energy, or a lot of clean energy, to give you an example, waterfalls or rivers or things of that sort, are in the middle of nowhere. They're nowhere even close to big cities that use massive energy. And it's very difficult to transfer energy long distances. So a rural community that may not be having, why would we spend $1 billion if we can't afford $1 billion to utilize all the energy from this waterfall that it can produce, etc.? Well, now I can transfer this energy from my area into the global economy through Bitcoin. So we can start this project, We can make money from that project and bring money back into our rural community thanks to Bitcoin. We can now basically sell our energy. This happens with scaling the infrastructure. As I kind of said, the grid needs to be kind of stable. And if energy companies are taking a massive loss on that stability, they have to keep it stable to provide energy during the spikes, right? So now, if they wanted to, they can start scaling the infrastructure up and up and up and higher to produce more energy needs, and also not taking such massive losses on that wasted energy. And the biggest thing of all with Bitcoin is the cost of clean energy versus the cost of war. Bitcoin is an incentive for clean energy. As I kind of said, there's a lot of clean energy throughout the world that, again, clean energy needs to be utilized right away. You can't really store it. We have no way of really storing energy. So it needs to be utilized right away. And if you have all this excess energy that's just going to waste, well, it's not going to go to waste anymore. So it incentivizes these clean energies to continue to produce more energy. And if it's not being used, Bitcoin will use it. And that's securing the network. And there's different times of the world happen at different things, right? So let's just say it's sunny out and we have all these solar panels and they're producing a massive amount of energy on this part of the world, while on the other side of the world it's dark. The solar panels aren't doing anything. And so, again, it creates a massive incentivization for clean energy and utilizing all of the excess energy that this clean energy creates. So if you have a bunch of clean energy and it's not being utilized, you can't really sell it today. Well, now you're going to be able to sell it. You hook up some Bitcoin miners and you're protecting a global financial system. Versus today, the global financial system is backed by what? We kind of already learned this in part one, the problems with money. The cost of war. Well, what's protecting the dollar? Well, the petrodollar. It's kind of back in the dollar, but what's protecting the petro being transferred or traded in dollars? The military. So we have the cost of war today to protect the dollar global reserve currency, or you have the cost of clean energy. What do you think is more important for the world? This is why I say that Bitcoin provides stability in the world of chaos, because we have chaos today. We have a fight over money. We have a fight over the printing of money. We have a fight over the resources that control the money. Versus Bitcoin is going to be a fight of producing clean energy. So, big one. And there is a video behind this button. I will post that on my website if you guys want to watch it. It's a wonderful, wonderful video on the benefits of Bitcoin and energy. Number two, we're going to go to ownership. I like these pictures for a couple reasons. And it's bad pictures. But what happens if you ever find yourself in either one of these positions? And you're probably thinking, that is never going to happen to me. But what if? We're going to play the what if game. And also, this video isn't just for the people this video is for everybody around the world. You or your family or past generations have probably found them in one of these situations. And in this scenario, in this first picture of the migrant here, migration here, these are everyday people. They are evacuating their city and taking whatever they can because the city was currently being under attack. And this is a migration because of a war, a massive war that was being launched on their hometown. Now, imagine if you had gold as your savings and you had to carry it with you. How many of these migrants how easily can it be confiscated? Absolutely, extremely easy. We hear this in many stories. I remember a story in Venezuela of a family evacuating the massive inflationary time that came and they got stopped at the border and they tried to cross the border with their life savings in gold and it got confiscated and they had absolutely nothing left. So how else are you going to be able to walk away from whatever it is that you may have because of chaos and able to retain some value? Now imagine if you find yourself in that line, but imagine that you have your Bitcoin in your mind, or you have even a hardware wallet in your thing, but obviously a note that has your keys on there. Anything. Imagine the hope that you have. Imagine knowing that no matter where you wind up, you have access to something to build on. That is absolutely incredible. What happens if you, now let's go to the next scenario. This might be more um, suitable for some of the viewers. What happens if you find yourself on the wrong side of the law, and even if you're wrongfully convicted? What happens if you post a video online and people don't like it and you find yourself behind bars and everybody's raiding your stuff and there goes everything in your house and they confiscate everything? Well, imagine if all of your wealth or a part of your wealth is in your mind. You memorized your Bitcoin passphrase. Nobody can take that from you. Nobody can confiscate that. Imagine being behind bars knowing that when you get out, you're going to have something to fall back on. That hope is going to give you drive regardless of what situation you find yourself in. And this is why number 2 is ownership. Nobody can take your Bitcoin if they don't know that you have it. You don't need to tell people that you have Bitcoin. Keep it to yourself. So no matter what situation you find yourself in, you have that hope. You have full control and ownership over an asset for the first time in history. You have full control over an asset. Nobody can take it from you. You can literally store an asset in your mind. Absolutely incredible. And most people don't comprehend how an insane invention this has been for the world, because they've not necessarily ever had to think of needing such. Well, yet. Your time may not have come to think about it. Well, prepare yourself for the inevitable. We don't know what's coming. We have no idea what the future holds. Your city could be under attack next, and you might find yourself in a similar situation. And this brings me to a wonderful book that I remember reading. It's called Man Searches for Meaning, if you've ever read of it. And there's a couple points in that book that I really take. And one of them was when he first got to camp and they stripped everybody naked and they shaved everybody's heads to make them literally have nothing. And I remember in that book, and he said these weren't just everyday people. These were everyday people. These were doctors. These were lawyers. Anyone. And yet you find yourself with absolutely nothing. You and the next guy, you absolutely have nothing. Every single thing that you ever had in life, you had nothing besides the knowledge inside your brain. That was the only thing, or your memories in your brain. And the main thing that he stated in that book was what kept people alive was the hope and belief that they had. Most people that had fight in them wanted to go see a significant other somewhere else, wanted to think, they had a hope that their wife was still alive, that their kids were still alive, that they had something to come out for. And that's what kept majorities of people alive, was a hope and a belief. Well, now we have Bitcoin. Now not only can you have a hope and belief that you may be reunited with someone, but you can have a hope and belief that you have some value to come out and to store out of any situation that you ever find yourself in. And nobody can ever take that from you unless you give it to them. And that hope and belief is absolutely incredible. So that is the ownership aspect of Bitcoin, which is absolutely revolutionary and absolutely going to change the future as we go along. Number one, this is your opportunity. The hedge against fiat. And I say this, I don't know who's going to be watching this, but if you're from America or you have benefits of America, you're in a local economy, an American economy, and your net worth, your income, your assets, your anything is backed by the dollar economy, meaning that you get paid in dollars. Your house, your investments generate dollars, whether it's stocks or real estate, etc. If your net worth is 100% in dollars and the dollar remains a global reserve currency, great. Nothing has changed. You're still living the greatest life and taking advantage of the greatest time in history. Great. Good job. But what happens when that comes to an end? What happens when the dollar falls? What is your backup? What is your backup plan? You need to be asking about that. You need to be thinking about it. What is your backup plan? All right. So, what is your backup plan? Well, I'll give you the best hedge today. Everyone with a net worth, and I say everybody with a net worth because if you're in debt and you don't have any savings, you're probably thinking like, again, I don't know who's watching this video, but if you're in debt and you don't have a savings and you're living paycheck to paycheck, you're saying, what worth? What can I put into Bitcoin? What can I save to that? Well, you can start saving a little bit. Or maybe you should be saying, hey, I need to start taking much bigger risk and risking things. That way I can accumulate some money. And when you accumulate some excess wealth, then you can start storing it as well. But everyone with a net worth should have a hedge against fiat. And what is the best hedge today? Again, something portable, something that is not that can't be printed, cannot be manipulated. It has liquidity no matter where you go in the globe. No matter where I'm at in the world, I can sell Bitcoin for any currency. It's unconfiscatable. Nobody can take it from you. It's trustless. It's permissionless. It's borderless. It's backed by an actual real value. Bitcoin is backed by mathematics and an insane amount of energy. And it's a system for everybody. Nobody should be out of a monetary system. It should be censorship resistance. If somebody tells you you can't spend your money, then that's not money, right? So what is the best hedge against the chaotic that may happen when the dollar loses its currency status, or whether fiat itself, all of the fiat currencies, start to lose value or start to become irrelevant? What is the best hedge? The best hedge is Bitcoin and Bitcoin only. You should be thinking, you should be having these conversations with yourself. This is not something that's going to happen in 100 years away. This is happening right now. I told you in part one that this country is preparing for a massive change. This change, I cannot tell you how this change is going to play out. Nobody will know. There's many scenarios that may or may not happen. You may think that this happened, that happened. I have no idea. All I can tell you is what there is to hedge, what there is to protect yourself, and what you can actually own. Because we don't own anything else in the world. You don't own your real estate. You have to pay taxes on it. Don't pay your taxes on your real estate. What happens if your property taxes on your real estate shoot up 1,000,000%? What happens if your $300,000 house, you have $1 million in taxes to pay? You're going to have to give it up. What happens if you find yourself in the middle of chaos and everything gets confiscated? You find yourself naked with a shaved head in the middle of a line. The only thing that you can own today that has value on a global system is Bitcoin and Bitcoin only. And that is why I made this seminar. And that ends, so let's recap the opportunities. We have a global economy, everybody. It's open for everyone and anyone. Permissionless 24/7. Also, too, the opportunity of energy. It creates an incentive for clean energy and for scalability of energy for the future. A more reliable, retainable network grid of energy. Also, your opportunity, the opportunity of ownership, your opportunity today to actually own something of value. And last but not least, the hedge against fiat currency. What is your hedge against the collapse of fiat? I thank you for your time. This is brought to you by howtocrypto.org. You could go to my website and I have some crypto consulting classes, or I offer crypto consulting. I also have some educational courses. You could also follow me on social media. I'm on Telegram, I'm on Twitter, I do have an Instagram, but I'm also on YouTube as you are watching. And I'm going to leave you today by the quote that I live by. Once again, the best investment one can make is being a good person. Don't forget, smiles are contagious. Have a good day. Peace.